If you clicked on this video, you wanted to know if Torq boards are worth it. And the short answer is yes. In this video, you will learn everything about this specific Modfish surfboard. You will learn about the surfer the board is suited for, the waves and conditions the board is suited for. You will learn about the material of the board. You will learn about the pricing of the board, which is very important, and my personal experience that I've had with this board. The dimensions on this board is 5'11", 20 3/8, and 2.5. The volume comes around 33.2 liters. What surfers are suited for this board? If you're coming from that 8-foot, 9-foot wave storm, you can pop up comfortably, you can cut down the line easily, and want to start doing those turns, those cutbacks, this is the way to go. The board shape is really good because it has foam up front for paddling. It is pretty thick and you're gonna catch waves easily if you already are catching waves easily with your wave storm or longboard. Anywhere from beginner surfers to intermediate surfers can ride this board. You obviously have to have your basics good. Your basics have to be strong enough. You want to be able, as I said, to pop up comfortably, to paddle well, and catch the waves. This board is not suited for advanced surfers, and I will be talking about that in a bit. Wave size. If you're a surfer like me, you're looking for that one board quiver, and this board was my one board quiver for a very long time. I've surfed this board in knee-high to overhead surf, and it's worked. I consider myself an intermediate surfer. I can do my cutbacks, I can do my occasional off the lip, I can do my floater. I'm working on all those maneuvers and surfing progress. This is the only board I had for a long time, and this is the board that has been with me since I'm cutting down lines, starting to do my bad cutbacks, and to now that I could properly move the board. The board is great. The board is better in softer, mushier surf because of the flat rocker. The board is beefier. The board has thicker rails, which in bigger surf wouldn't be good because you can't penetrate the surface of the water easily. So this board is better for softer waves. You can surf it, obviously you're not gonna surf it at pipeline, but you could surf it pretty big. Surfing isn't a cheap sport. Surfboards are expensive, and if you're a beginner surfer, you don't want to pay a lot of money because you don't know how your surfing career is gonna go. So the pricing of a board is very important. If you're a pro or sponsor surfer, or if even you're rich, you don't have to worry about this pricing problem. But if you're broke like me, well, Torq surfboards are the best boards you're gonna get for their price. These boards average around, at the time of this recording, they average around $450 to $550, and this is new. And other boards, new boards, like for example Hayden Shapes, Hypto Crypto, when you buy them new, they are around, let me check. So this surfboard right here costs $795 new. There is a pretty big price difference on premium surfboards and Torq surfboards. The pricing is pretty different from a Torq surfboard. So if you want to save those bucks, take this into consideration. The pricing is good, but there's something that I need to talk to you about Torq surfboards. Their material. Torq surfboards are almost indestructible. I've had this board for about a year, and it doesn't have one single pressure ding. Not even one. This board only has a couple of scratches, a couple of minimal scratches. The board is rock solid, but this material comes with a price. It's not as light as a traditional board or a premium board like Future Flex construction. Torq say this is epoxy, but epoxy is supposed to be lighter than PU, and this board is heavy. This could be good or bad depending on how you see it. Because of the weight, the board is not going to be as radical or light as a normal short board, so you're not going to be able to do high performance turns on this board right here because of the weight. The weight doesn't restrict you from doing floaters, cutbacks, etc. I can do these things on the board. It's a bit harder. You have to use your technique properly, and this is why I see it as a benefit having this extra weight on the board, because you have to use your technique to move the board. So if you're worried about the weight, yes, Torq surfboards are heavier. These boards are a bit heavier than your normal PU boards or epoxy boards. They claim it's epoxy. In every sense, it is epoxy, because I've had this board for a year and it's pristine white compared to my Hayden Shapes board, which is already getting a bit yellower and it's beaten up. The board is really strong. If you don't like pressure dings, if you're unsure that you will fall or something and hurt the board, if you're surfing in rocky areas and you don't want your board to get damaged, get a Torq surfboard because they are indestructible. My personal experience with this board was great. I got this board when I stepped down from a 7.6 Torq, another Torq board. It was a mod fun. I stepped down to that board to this and it went great. I already knew how to paddle, how to catch waves, how to cut down the line, and I wanted to start doing my maneuvers. The board, at first, it felt really loose because obviously coming from a 7.6 to a 5.11, you feel the difference and you can move the board really easily. I'm 140 pounds and this is 33 liters and I can duck dive this board. And if you're wondering, my dad also had a mod fish this exact board in 6.3, which is 36 liters, and I could also duck dive that board. Obviously you need to have your strength to able to sink the board. You have to anticipate timing because you have to sink the board earlier to be able to duck dive it. This is the board I progressed on, from cutting down the line in the first maneuvers to now being an all-around better surfer. I would recommend it to everybody. The board also has the 5 fin setup. Torq boards only come in Future fin setup. They do come stock with the plastic fins, so if you buy a Torq surfboard, the fins will be included. So I could ride it as a quad or a thruster. So this, you can get different feelings of the same board. To end up, I have a message for Torq. The boards are great. The foam is evenly distributed. The shapes of the boards are awesome. I've seen that you guys have different surfboard models like the go-kart, a lot of other short boards. You even have mid-length surfboards, long boards. I haven't tried those. I only tried the mod fish, but the boards are great. But if I had to complain about something, it has to be the material, the weight of the material. It's not significant, but you can notice it, and it does affect the performance of your surfing. So I would say that if you guys can reduce the weight of your surfboards about 30%, it will improve your surfboards a lot more. I've seen that you guys have different materials too. For example, this is the CS Carbon, so this is supposed to be one of their lighter constructions, and it's still heavy. So yeah, that's the review for today for this Torq mod fish. It's a great board. I recommend it from everybody to beginner, intermediate surfers. If you're starting to surf, this is a good way to go. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you. This channel will be about my progression as a beginner surfer to surf like Kelly Slater one day. So if you'd like to see my progression, make sure to subscribe. There will be more content coming to the channel. My next video will be about surf skating and how it helps your surfing, pros and cons about surf skating. So if you'd like to see this video, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, that's all for the review.